Morning, Trainiacs. Settling in for a long haul today. We got kickboard, we got the workout, we got swim bag, we got more gear in the bag because it's like an epic journey of a swim. 4,400 yards, a 3,900 yard main set with 2,700 of it at or above race pace. So in the couple weeks leading up to Half Ironman Puerto Rico, a lot of people were seeing the swims that I was doing asking, why are you going so long for just a Half Ironman? Well, it's so I can have the best swim of my life at Puerto Rico, going 31 mid, probably a 10% improvement from last year. So once I hopefully get through this epic saga, we'll go back to the pain cave, analyze that swim, and how I swam leading into Half Ironman Puerto Rico to be able to go 31 mid, no wetsuit. Just about 100 more of these. Ay caramba. First swim back since Puerto Rico, 4,400 yards, averaging a minute 32 per 100 yards. I'm gonna be honest with you, there was a lot of cramping in that swim. Lots of cramping. Apparently though, it's what's gonna make me better. Let's hope. All right, Trainiacs, let's start talking about that 31 mid swim that I did in Half Ironman Puerto Rico. I've talked about the run, I've talked about the bike, but I haven't really talked about the swim. So I went 31:40 in Puerto Rico, but it was a non-wetsuit swim. It was slightly into current, so it's hard to really figure out if it was a very good swim. But I think I've got some answers. And the guidelines of what I did to get this swim, and free stuff for you. So this is our pal Christoph's website at obstri.com, obsessedtriathlete.com, where you can look up any old race that you've done all in one spot with some interesting analytics, as long as it's an Ironman race. So starting with the oldest race to the most recent race, Half Ironman Campeche 2 years ago was a non-wetsuit swim where I swam 34:39. Half Ironman Austin was a wetsuit swim where I swam 31:39. Half Ironman Coeur d'Alene last year was a wetsuit swim where I swam 32:06. Half Ironman World Championship last year was a wetsuit swim where I swam 28:59. And Puerto Rico, what we're talking about here today, was a non-wetsuit swim, swimming 31:40, which, comparing it to the most recent non-wetsuit swim, you can see basically 3 minutes bang on faster. But what I want to look at isn't everything, because I know I've got faster over the last year. I want to look at basically my most recent race with the previous most recent race being Half Ironman Worlds. Now in that case, I'm trying to compare a wetsuit swim to a non-wetsuit swim. How much faster does a wetsuit make you? It's really different for everyone. I know personally myself with floaty pants, I am 5 to 10 seconds faster per 100 meters with the floaty pants than I am without. Now on the low end, that means that I'm about a minute and a half faster over the course of 1,900 meter swim in a Half Ironman. On the high end, that means 3 minutes faster over the course of a Half Ironman swim. So take the average of that, we're gonna be somewhere around 2 minutes, 15 seconds slower. Subtract that 2 minutes, 15 seconds from what I swam in Puerto Rico, and we're looking at normalizing it similar to Half Ironman Worlds to like a, quick math, Canadian math, a 29:25. Still slower by about 26 seconds. There's a couple other factors that lead to this Puerto Rico swim being actually better, even though it's like in theory slower. One being that the water was cooler in South Africa. So it being cooler, you can go faster without really your body temperature heating up. Second, Gerry Rodrigues, head coach of Tower 26, looked across the entire field and he said that in Half Ironman Worlds last year, the entire field was about 3 to 5% faster. He didn't say the same thing about Puerto Rico. The ability to draft was also quite a bit less in Puerto Rico because instead of the 468 athletes that were going off in my age group that I had in Worlds, there were only 108 athletes that I had in this age group. So there's just less chance to get into a good drafting pack. And then the last thing, and this is the biggest thing, is that it's really hard to compare courses. Worlds was an ocean swim. This was a lagoon swim. Distances are slightly different. A lot of people will see on Strava that my Garmin actually lost connection as we went under the bridge in Puerto Rico, so it shows as just 1,700 meters. But looking at a buddy's Strava data, Justin from Roca, hint, stick around for some cool info on Roca. Justin's data was bang on 1,900 meters, and courses are different all around. And one of the biggest things that Justin said is that he noticed that we were into a head current as we turned around and started coming back for basically 60% of the swim, whereas in Half Ironman Worlds it was current assisted. So all of those things lead me to say that this was a better swim. It was non-wetsuit. It was not current assisted. I did not have as many people to draft with. It was warmer water. When you start normalizing all that, I have to say that this is probably the best Half Ironman swim that I've ever done. And that makes sense because when I did a video analyzing my entire year of progression in swimming, I'm swimming faster now than I ever have. How did I do that? Well, everyone knows that I do Tower 26 for my swimming. What was it about Tower 26 though that allowed me to get faster? Well, over the course of the winter, we take a step back in Tower 26 and we start working on technique. Instead of just swimming for the sake of swimming or just swimming really hard all year round, we step back and we swim with purpose. And the big thing that we worked on, in my case, was narrowing up my kick, getting my heels close to the surface of the water, wiggling a little bit less, and having a better catch. I mean, it's a lot of things, but it was a fairly simple process to go through. From September to December, I swam 4 times a week, only amounting to about 2 to 2.5 kilometers per swim. From January to February, I swam 4 times a week, with one of those being about 3.5 kilometers or longer, and the rest of those swims being somewhere in between about 1,700 meters and 2.5 kilometers. Then in March, I switched to 3 swims a week, with 2 of them being 4 kilometers or longer and 1 just being 2K. A key takeaway for you with all this is that to get faster, you need to swim, but you need to swim more importantly with purpose. So I had somebody recently contact me on Instagram and say, can I get a swim analysis from you? We do swim analyses for Team Trainiac with athletes that are on teamtrainiac.com. But the reason that I said to this athlete, well, I won't do it unless you're on Team Trainiac, is because just doing a swim analysis and saying, well, you need to rotate more, just for example. Meanwhile, I have no say in the entire swim program. That's like saying this 1% of the time that I'm going to spend with you is going to affect 99% of the time. Whereas what we do on Team Trainiac is if you get a swim drill analysis, yeah, I can spend 1% of the time and say, all right, I know what you're doing for the other 99% of the time with all your workouts because I wrote all of them, and you take what we talk about in here and apply it to all those workouts, which even if you don't do this 1%, it's structured in a way that it's purposeful. It gives you a period of time throughout the year to work on certain things, and it's certain things that are very high return on investment for triathletes. So now if you want to skip all that and you just say, hey, Taren, I just want to get fast right away. Well, an easy way to do that is with our pals over at Roca. Get yourself some free speed by just shelling out some cash, or trying to enter their wetsuit and Ironman race entry and floaty pants and sunglasses giveaway, where they are giving away with us over $2,000 in prizes. Go to roka.com/Taren. At very least, if it doesn't make you faster, you'll look better. And if you look better, you're probably going to go faster. These are facts. All right, Trainiacs, check it out, roka.com/Taren or Team Trainiac. You too can get faster. You can see, I did not start out fast, but I'm getting fast. Later, Trainiacs.